everybody, this is Caitlin here, and today we have another Force of Will deck profile for you today. Last time that we had a deck profile for Force of Will, we were looking at Arla, and it was a kind of light deck focused around cards that had only came out with the new first set from first block, or rather from the Alice set, which was the seven Kings of the Lands, because the first tournament I was entering at my local place, you were only allowed to use cards from that set, just because it was fair. This time though, Twilight Wanderer has come out. We have so many more cards that we can use now, and tournaments now are looking at mixing up all the cards in that. Well, at my local anyway, we're now using cards from all the sets, whatever. So this deck profile is going to be themed around one of the new rulers from Twilight Wanderer, which is Sylvia. Now, when I initially saw Sylvia, I knew I wanted to build a deck around her. Originally, I thought I would build a deck that would be kind of a red dragon aggro kind of rush deck or whatever. But when I initially built that one, it was a bit too slow for my liking. There was no rush at all with it. I mean, there was no kind of good cards that really supported dragons, and there wasn't an awful lot of dragons to choose from. I mean, a lot of dragons came out with Twilight Wanderer, but even looking past past sets or whatever, there wasn't a lot of dragons even back then, which is a little bit weird. And Sylvia's main ability here is that you can also use her. You can also use Firestones to reduce green, which I thought would be a neat thing to use potentially for green dragons. But when I was looking back at older sets, I think I could only find one green dragon, and even then its ability was not even that good at all, so it wasn't even worth putting in the deck. So I was kind of rethinking my idea for this deck, and I decided to change it into something I like to call Sylvia's Spell Burning. It's because this one is going to focus a lot on dealing damage with spells. And we'll get into the different spells and that I have at the moment. Right now, looking at the ruler that we have, she is Sylvia Gilles Paralarulius. I can't say her surname. She's an awesome fancy dragon lady, and I believe it's you pay 4 for her judgment. And when she flips over, she turns into an awesome fire-breathing dragon that is hot stamped, which, if you remember, is one of the ones I pulled from my box opening earlier, late in the latter half of last year, because time I can't even control myself when I'm talking about last year, this year, blah blah blah. Anyway, when you J activate her, she gets flying, she gets swiftness, and when she enters, she deals 1000 damage to a target Resonator, even J Resonator on your opponent's side. And if you manage to kill that Resonator that was dealt damage by that effect, you can regain 3 of your magic stones. So it costs 4 to even bring her out like this, but then you can recover 3 of them if you manage to kill something with her ability, which is pretty awesome. Plus she has 1000 anyway, and she's got swiftness, so she can still attack this turn, which is pretty awesome. So she's probably quite a beefy ruler, kind of similar to, I think, Bahamut, since he was kind of the similar kind of dragon J ruler or whatever. But I still think Sylvia is a lot better, which is why I'm building a deck around her. So, going on to the J Resonators that we have, we'll start off with the 1-drops. Simply put, we have the Rukh Egg. I think this is kind of meant to be a staple for fire decks, if that's kind of the thing you're going for, is pure fire. Because what the Rukh Egg does is that it doesn't attack, because obviously it's an egg, it has 0 attack. But what happens is that when it's put into the graveyard from your field, you can search your main deck for a fire resonator, and you can reveal it and put it into your hand, and then you shuffle your deck afterwards. So mainly, this is to block, come out here, you can, you win a block, and then when it's destroyed, you can search your deck for a fire resonator that you actually want. So it's kind of handy to actually just draw into these, because then it's easier for you to just find stuff in your deck or whatever that you really want to play. So we're running 4 of those. The other 1-drop that we have right now is Guinevere, the Jealous Queen. Only running it at 3 because it's not a really important card right now. I am actually considering maybe taking it out. Just I'm still testing this deck right now in terms of how well it does. I mainly play her for her effect, which is when you tap and banish a Resonator, you can draw 2 cards and discard 1. That's mainly the reason that I'm playing her right now. As I said, I might get rid of her and substitute her with something else. Possibly another 2-drop, because I'm only running 1 type of 2-drop right now. But we shall see. I might actually substitute her for the Flame Sprite Fairy thing. I'm not too sure yet, because I want to test it out and stuff before I start changing things. The 2-drop that we have is the Whelp Drake. And this guy, he's really cute. He's a dragon. He was initially one of my choices when I was thinking of building dragon aggro, but I decided to keep him in here anyway because he has flying, which is pretty awesome. Plus, his ability is that when he is put into the graveyard from your field, you can deal 400 damage to a target resonator. So most of the time when you're at your 2-drop stage, you're mainly going against stuff that is at similar kind of attack as you, so you can easily just like kill something that destroyed this in that turn. Plus, it's a dragon, it has flying, it can fly over J Resonators and just attack our opponents directly if we so please. Now, we're going into the 3-drops now, which are like mainly the important guys in this deck because of one of the spells that we're running later on. So, one of the 3-drops that we're running 3 of it right now. Don't know whether to bump it to 4 or not, I'm still considering it. We have the Flamewing Wyvern, who is pretty awesome. He is flying as well. He's got attack of 600, defense of 600. He also has the abilities that if we tap a Firestone, this card can gain 200 until the end of the turn. I don't know whether you can tap multiple Firestones if you so want, but by that point, if you're tapping multiple Firestones just to beef him up, I mean, you might as well be summoning something else in that turn. But, you know, he's pretty awesome looking guy. He's a dragon. Sylvia's a dragon. It kind of works out. Don't know whether I'm going to run him at 3 or 4 yet. I'm still running it as 3 now, just until I decided. And the other 3-drop that we have is Gareth, the Dauntless Knight. The reason I'm running him right now is because I would prefer to run Lancelot, but when I was actually looking at what I pulled or whatever, I only seem to have 1 Lancelot. I can't remember if I pulled any more from my box. I might have traded away the other Lancelots that I had. I'm not too sure yet. But I'm going to hopefully replace this guy with Lancelot. I'm not too sure when. Or I might just keep him in until, like, you know, unless I can't get any more Lancelots. But for Gareth, he has 800, plus he has target attack. So while most of the things in this deck are flying and they're dealing, like, damage directly to the opponent because they're flying over the other Resonators or whatever, he has a target attack, so he's going to be dishing out the damage to the Resonators or whatever that are in our way and that we aren't attacking because we're flying. Plus, if this card would be dealt 700 or less damage, you can prevent it, which is pretty awesome. Running him at 3 now, because I'm not too sure yet whether to bump up my 3-drops to 4 or not. But we have only 1 4-drop right now, and it's the Caldera-Born Dragon. He has 800, so he's the same kind of attack as Gareth, but he has flying and swiftness, which is pretty awesome, and he, you know, looks pretty epic in his artwork. So he was also one of the ones that I wanted to pick for a Dragon Rush deck, whatever, and he stayed into the deck for now because, you know, I quite like him. He's a 4-drop, he's like, bam, 800, swiftness, flying, deal with it, which is pretty awesome. I do have a lot of fun playing with this deck, especially when I get up my spells. Get to those in a wee second, but the last Resonate that we have is the big beefy guy. We have our Golden Dragon, running 2 of him because, you know, he's a beefy, like, 6 cost, so he costs an awful lot, but that's because he has pretty epic abilities. He has flying, he also has swiftness, and also he gains 200 for each fire magic stone that you control. Now, that only counts for basic fire magic stones. I learned that it doesn't actually count for special magic stones that can produce fire. It only counts for the basic fire magic ones. So, my mistake on that. But, you know, still learning about, like, the technicalities of some of the cards. Also, he has a really neat effect where when this card is destroyed, you can banish 3 of your magic firestones. And if you do, you can put this card from your graveyard into the field, which is pretty epic. So, you know, by the time you have enough to get him, you probably don't really need the extra stones or whatever. But, you know, that does actually mean that you can't beef him up as much. But, you know, it's still pretty epic. Plus, he's flying. And he's an awesome golden dragon, which is amazing. So he's staying in the deck. Now we're going on to the spells. The spells that are going to be causing probably the most amount of hilarity and damage or whatever in this deck. So to start off, we have 4, count them, 4 Barriers of Flame, 2 of which are hot stamped. Trying to get 2 more hot stamps of these. This is going to be our field edition, which when you play a normal spell and it would deal damage, it deals that much plus 200 instead. So think of all those fire or green spells or whatever. I don't even know if green spells do it. But think of all those spells that deal damage. You can multiply it. Like, you know, this is, if we have all 4 of these out, that's like an extra 800 damage, which is ridiculous. I mean, we could kill quite a couple of things. You could probably kill even like a couple of J-Rulers if like they don't have like abilities to like mess up with spell effects or whatever. But on to the next spell that we have, which is also why we're running more 3-drops than 2-drops. We have the Flame King's Shout. which what happens with this one is that when you play this, it deals 400 to all Resonators that your opponent controls. And then you can take a Fire Resonator that costs 3 or less from your hand and you can play it to your field. It gains Swiftness this turn. So that's why the 3 jobs that we have, they don't have Swiftness, mainly because we can give them Swiftness with this. And, you know, it's pretty awesome. And, you know, so, like, if it's the dragon can fly over immediately, deal damage. If it's Gareth, then, you know, he can, like, target attack, but that also means, like, usually most of the stuff on the field would probably be dead if we already had a barrier flame out. But, you know, he can, like, sweep up and he can, like, take lives, which is awesome, like, with that. We also have 4 of the Shadow Flame right here. This is awesome because it also has the Remnant ability, so you can also play it from your graveyard. If you can just, like, banish it. So you can get 2 uses out of each of them, so you could essentially play this 8 times if you wanted. It deals 500 damage to target Resonator. Essentially, you know, up it by 200 for each barrier flame you have. You could kill... I'm trying to think, if you had, like, an extra 800 damage, 500, you know... I mean, I'm trying to even think... Possibly that might be enough to even kill a behemoth. That kind of annoying green beast from SKL. I can't remember, because I'm pretty sure I tried to do that once in the game, and I was, like, just short of, like, 100, so that was pretty annoying. But... next spell that we have is Burn to Cinders, which has a pretty awesome ability for, like, a spell chant instant. It deals 700 damage to, like, a J Resonant or whatever. If you're targeting a J Ruler, it loses Imperishable for that turn. Also, if it's a Resonator and it would be put into the graveyard from the field, it instead gets banished. Mwahaha. Well, it gets removed from the game, but that's essentially banished anyway. Running 3 of that. Still trying to get foils of that one, you know, because it's a common. I'd rather have, like, super shininess for this deck. The next card we have, I'm not quite sure whether I'm going to still run it. Right now, I'm still running it right now. It's Sylvia's Roar. My questioning of whether I'm still going to run it mainly comes from the fact that I don't really understand the second ability. When Sylvia is your ruler, you can have both the abilities active. Which, the first one is that all your Resonators gain 300 till the end of the turn. The second ability is your Dragon Resonators you control gain the ability, whenever this card attacks, it deals damage equal to its attack to target Resonator until end of the turn. But then, like, the way I was thinking about it is that most of the dragons have flying, so they can't actually, like, actively target stuff because they're, like, attacking the life points or whatever of your opponent. So does that mean that when this attacks, it deals that damage to a Resonator as well? I'm not too sure. I mean, I need to, like, confirm the wording of this spell because I'm not too sure about it. That's why I'm only running it at 2 right now, because I don't really use it very often. I'm possibly going to remove it from the deck in favour of something else. But we'll see. One of the most epic spells that we have for this deck, which, you know, has made people a little bit wary of my deck right now, is the 4 Thunders that we have, which deal 500 to either a Resonator or the opponent. So essentially we could deal... on just base damage, we could deal 2,000 damage to our opponent with our Thunders. That's not counting if we had a barrier flame out, which, you know, is insane. Like, I mean, I'm going to be very sad when this card rotates out. I kind of hope that it might get a reprint in a future set or whatever, just because, like, this card is so good. Like, you see it all the time online. People are asking, I want Thunders, or, you know, Thunder is mainly on the top of everyone's list who wants to run a fire deck or whatever, because Thunder is OP. But moving on to the last spells that we have, the only kind of green stuff that we have in here, we have 3, count them, 3 Rapid Growths, because they have the Remnant ability as well, and they only cost 1. Gives our Resonators plus 400 until the end of the turn, which is pretty awesome, which, you know, beef up the dragons, beef up Gareth, and beef up, well, we're not really beefing up Guinevere because she's not really going to attack stuff, but you know what I mean. We can play this, like, from the graveyard, which is pretty awesome. And the last 2 cards that we have, I don't know whether I'm going to keep these or not. They're in here for the sake of having them, is Rewriting Laws, which I don't really play it for the first ability, which is, like, produce any number of will or whatever this turn. I mainly play it for the recover 2 your stones and, you know, draw a card. It's mainly just, you know, we want to draw things. Don't know whether I'm going to keep them or not. I only really kind of put them in, like, for drawing stuff because, like, none of the stuff that I have right now, other than Guinevere, lets you draw things. But moving on to the Magic Stone deck, which is, you know, the most important thing because we need those stones, we have 10 of basic fire magic stones. I picked the ones from Moon Priestess Returns because I really like how they look. They're really pretty. They kind of look like gemstones or whatever. And, you know, I love the kind of like ribbony effect that's going around it. I'm going to be very sad when these stones rotate out in September and I can't use them anymore. I don't know if like you're not allowed to use basic stones, like, because they're still the same stone, it's just got different artworks. I don't know why you wouldn't be allowed to still use them. I need to double check that actually, because I would use these for like all my fire decks forever because they're so pretty. They're my favourite artwork for Firestones so far. Onto the special magic stones that we have. We've got 4 of the Unyielding Flames Memoria. 3 of them are hot stamped. I need to get 1 more hot stamped and then I'd have a playset of them. But for this one, if your opponent's life is exactly 4,000, you have to rest it when it comes out, which is why we want to do damage to our opponent's life as quickly as possible, because we don't want to end up like tapping one of these and, you know, having to rest it immediately because they're still at 4,000. But it produces fire, obviously. But what its other ability is that if you target a Resonator would be dealing damage this turn, you can tap this and give it an extra 200 damage, which, you know, is pretty awesome. So you're just like, wah, extra 200 damage. Plus, it's also a special magic stone too. You sadly can't use it for the Golden Dragon's ability to banish stones or whatever. And the very last stone that we have, we've only got 1 of it because I only own 1 of it, is the little red, the pure stone, which, you know, you can, when it comes out, you call what attribute it is. So obviously for us it would be red because, you know, we're running red. And if another ability it has is that you can tap this and the target Resonator that shares an attribute with it can gain 200 until the end of the turn. Which, you know, is kind of handy if like we're not using it to play stuff. So that is this Sylvia deck right now. And as I said, I'm still not entirely happy with it. There are a couple of changes I would like to make if I could get Lancelot, if I could get a couple of other cards, whatever. Originally, I did run the Phoenix that came out in Twilight Wanderer, but I found that I wasn't actually playing it very often, mainly because it was a 4-drop, and, you know, the dealing 300 damage that it does didn't really do anything. Plus, it didn't have swiftness, so I couldn't really, like, make great use of it other than, you know, using it to block, which is why I kind of removed it or whatever, even though it looked very pretty. Still don't know if I'm going to run other stuff, whatever. But guys, let me know what you think of this deck, what changes you would make, what do you think of it? Do you think that Sylvia should be used for Spellburn, or do you think I should try again with Dragon Rush and try something else? Personally, I kind of prefer this build right now over the Dragon Rush idea I had. And what other kind of rulers do you want me to make decks for? Because I still have a couple of rulers or whatever, though I traded in some of the older ones that I had just to get a little bit more money. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And until next time, guys, I will see you later.